Patriots at San Diego. And here we are, folks. Marco D'Angelo with his best bet video, free pick of the week, going for his 8th straight winner, undefeated this year on his video best bet free picks. Marco, what should bettors be looking at in this game?
Well, obviously, people are going to look at this game. They're going to look at the San Diego Chargers and say, what's wrong with them? Because it's been a train wreck with Norv Turner this year. They're not as bad as they look, and I'll tell you why. Back at home, they're going to be the right side of this
you're
game.
saying San Diego underrated, so why?
Well, first off, San Diego, for whatever reason, they cannot play on the road. Their 2 home games this year were both blowouts. One was against Seattle, which, supposed to be.
Which, again, Seattle just beat Chicago, right? On the road.
They did. And the other one was against Jacksonville, which we saw how bad Jacksonville looked Monday night. But they lost their starting quarterback in that game. I like San Diego.
Jacksonville lost their starting quarterback in the Monday night game.
In the Monday game this past week. I like San Diego here. This is going to be New England.
Yeah, hold on. Why is San Diego? So what I hear you saying is it the home-road dichotomy?
This is a team that has that, but I like the matchup in this game of the San Diego Charger offense against the New England Patriot defense.
All right, so this is, again, we talked about this in an earlier video. It's not so much you think San Diego is significantly underrated. You're saying in this spot, at home, and in this matchup, you like it.
And I've got a ton of situational things that I use that are negatives for New England in this game.
All right, so first let's talk about this San Diego's favorable matchup. How do you see that being the case?
New England defense is bad. The best quarterback that New England's faced this year was last week, Joe Flacco. And I know you don't like Joe Flacco.
Well, I got to tell you something. I was, it's funny. I was texting you early in the season when he was throwing the interceptions. I actually felt it to the bottom of my soul. But I got to tell you, after the Pittsburgh game, and it wasn't so much that last drive, and again, give him credit for that in that game, is, the guy has certainly become at least a slightly above average quarterback. But go ahead.
The New England defense has been getting torched all year. And as we said, I think Flacco was the best quarterback that they had faced to date. And he threw for 278 last week against New England, completed 27 of 35. And that was given the fact that New England had 2 weeks to prepare for him. New England was coming off a bye week. And under Belichick, New England is, I think, like 8-0 straight up off of Belichick in a bye. They're going to face Phillip Rivers this week. And this is going to be the best quarterback that they faced.
So you're saying that New England, because specifically the offenses they faced, that their defense actually has been their weakness has not been uncovered or exposed yet. You're saying they're weaker because you've been hearing all year that New England's not a good defense. You're saying they're actually worse than than people think.
Buffalo scored 30-some points on them with Fitzpatrick.
Now let me ask you a question. I was watching the Steeler game on an online stream against the Browns. You can see what kind of Steeler fan I am. And then I was watching the New England game on the big screen with the sound down. I got to tell you, here was a general sense I got in that New England game, that it's almost like a college team with a lot of underclassmen coming into their own in the second half of the season. I felt like that Belichick's been drafting a lot of talent, a lot of youth, and I got a feeling this is going to be an upward trending team. And I felt like last week might have been, on the defensive side, indicative of this team trending upward. You didn't see that.
I actually talked about that very fact on Mike and Dan and Gil's show on Friday when we broke down the NFL.
And for those that don't know, you can go to pregamepodcast.com and get all of these audio podcasts, and there's actually 2 daily shows that we do, and they're both worth listening to.
I said, as this season progresses, this defense is going to get better. But given the big jump in class, I feel that they're facing this week with the Chargers, and then the 2 emotional factors that I'm going to factor in. Last week was a huge, huge revenge game for New England. It was playoff revenge. You cannot underestimate the value of playoff revenge because teams, you remember who ended your season. That sticks in your crawl all off season. So they got their playoff revenge. They had 2 weeks to prepare for it. They also had the factor, you've heard me talk about the injured player theory, and I treated the Randy Moss trade almost like the injured player theory. You go with them the first game without them.
Everyone rallies together.
Then you go against them.
Then the public readjusts. Hey, they didn't need Randy Moss. I like that. That makes a ton of sense to me. Here's what doesn't. This game should be pick 'em. Is when I got to tell you, when I looked at this game, I was ready to bet it right away. And on the New England side, because to me, really three saying these are even teams, and I mean it's hard to imagine that that's what anyone thinks. So it feels trappy. Or I guess the question is does it feel trappy to you?
Well, absolutely. The public perception, I love to sit and look at public perception. The public perception cannot be any lower on the San Diego Chargers than it is right now. The only team that might be a lower public perception is the Dallas Cowboys, and we'll talk about them later. But this team's at their lowest point. Given last week's win, New England came from 10 back in the final quarter to send that into overtime and win it in overtime. Their public perception's higher. San Diego's lower.
And the fact they came out 3 told you Vegas wanted a bunch of Pats action.
When you looked at that and saw 3, you said, oh, my God.
I saw value.
I looked at that and I said, that's a Marco play.
All right, so a few other points. ESPN has New England 3rd in their rankings, Vegas 9th. So Vegas hasn't bought into New England as much as the experts at ESPN has. ESPN has San Diego. What do you think?
San Diego's got to be just falling down the charts.
24. And Vegas has them 10. Vegas believes that San Diego, and they were 4 last week. Right. Vegas believes San Diego is a good team. In fact, the line makes total sense. Really, Vegas says New England's 9 and San Diego's 10. And then if you take in, so the fact that 3 makes a ton of sense. What you're saying, so Vegas is really saying, yeah, we do disagree on this about how bad you think San Diego is, and come on and give us New England action. And so you're in line with Vegas here, which you actually haven't been in some of the other spots. What do you think San Diego's ranked on defense statistically?
San Diego? Surprisingly,
quick guess, please.
I'm going to say it's not as bad as you would think because they're Achilles
number
heel.
One.
They're Achilles heel special teams.
They're number 1 yards per game on defense. What do you think they are on offense?
They're going to be top 12.
4. Wow. So this is the number 1 defensive team, the 4th best offensive team, and ESPN thinks they're the 24th best team. That's the essence here, I guess, is when you look at San Diego as a fantasy team, as a statistical team, they're great. But a lot like the Cowboys, it doesn't seem like they can put it together on the field. And clearly what the public likes to point to is coaching. That doesn't scare you here.
It doesn't scare me. I like the home field here. I'm going to say one thing about the San Diego Chargers, and when I say this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Do you remember a couple of years ago how bad the Steelers' special teams was, the kickoff returns?
Yes.
This San Diego Charger special teams is worse than that one.
And still.
So
really, this is pretty much you saying, I think Vegas wants Pat's action too much, and I'm not gonna give in.
I'm not giving in, no.
All right, now the line is drifting down to 2.5 in some spots, which to me is great because now you're starting to get some value too.
You're getting some value, and it's confirming what my perception is. John Q. Public is going to look at
pounding Pats.
Yes.
All right, so what's your official projection?
I've got, and this is my best bet, San Diego 31, New England 23. We're going to take the Chargers. Go Bolts.
All right, now one thing to be a little concerned about is, from what I read, and again it's Wednesday here we're taping, is that San Diego has some cluster injuries potentially at wide receiver. And a cluster injury, as you know, is when there's multiple injuries at one spot to the point that the depth is hurt by such a degree that it has more effect than just having one guy out. You can have cluster injuries with defensive backs, with linemen, etc. Do you have any extra insight come Wednesday, or is this one you think it's in the line, or how are you looking at this?
It's in the line right now. This is one where you might get some little more adjustment closer to game time whenever they officially rule guys out. Friday's the day, the practice day, when they update the injury reports that you'll have downgrades or upgrades. So you have to wait till Friday. But I think what'll even it out is that New England secondary will even out the cluster injuries for the Chargers.
All right, official projection.
I already said it, 31-23.
31-20. Wow, I guess he's hot lights. It's getting to me a little bit. All right, now not only are you giving your best bet and going for your 8th win in a row, we're actually giving every week in one of our videos, one of our best bets, we give $10 away for anyone that wants to get an actual game day best bet. And the late information helps, and that's where you actually won 25 straight baseball games this year. Give us the coupon.
Coupon is the word going and the number 48. All together, going 48, and that's what we're doing. We're
So
going
G-O-I-N-G.
number 4, number 8.
Oh, so you didn't spell F-O-R.
No,
I
so-
would have spelled F-O-R.
Well, it's like the vanity
It's almost
license
like
plate.
like Steve Sanders. Did you ever watch Beverly Hills 90210? That you were like in your mid-30s when that was on.
Oh my
but
God.
but he had a license plate that said I8A4RE, and he had like a Lamborghini or something.
Oh my God.
So give us a coupon one more time.
The word going, the number 48. We're going 48 in a row, guys.
If you're listening on audio, this is the best reason to convert to video, because we actually, when Marco makes these convoluted coupons, we actually flash it on the screen so you can read it. So if you're having trouble on this, go to pregame.tv and watch the video and you're going to know. All right. And you can continue the conversation with us in the comments section. And next up, we're going to Sunday Night Football. Marco's favorite, Brett Favre, travels back to Green Bay.